Late winter in Switzerland seems to go on forever. The days are still short and grey, snow still falls, and dampness permeates everything. It is during this gloomy time of the year that the people spill into the streets with the noise, fire, and masks of Carnival. This is not the Switzerland that tourists know from the fancy ski resorts or picturesque Alps. It is a chance to see some earthier aspects of Swiss culture, especially in the small villages when well-worn fur costumes and wooden masks are brought down from the attic. And in the cities, the carnival spirit shows itself in clever displays of innovation and satire. Carnival has traditionally been an opportunity to feast and indulge in meat and eggs before the start of Lenten fasting. Although observation of Lent has waned, carnival traditions remain strong. In the age of the internet, what motivates the normally reserved Swiss to keep their old and strange carnival traditions alive? We will visit 4 very different towns and ask some young and old enthusiasts what keeps them returning to carnival year after year. Evolène is in the French-speaking region of Switzerland, nestled in a valley surrounded by some of the highest peaks of the Alps, including Dent Blanche and the Matterhorn. The people of this village were originally farmers, and most families had at least one boy who worked as a guide for high mountain expeditions. Despite the many changes the 20th century has brought to Evolène, many aspects of village life still exist today. The carnival festivities are an important event, unifying the village. What do you think is the importance of carnival in Evolène?
It's, what do you call it? What do you call that? I'm losing my words. It's, Hey Tom! Hey, the carnival is what? Why are we doing this every year? Ah yeah, it's a tradition. Ah yes, it comes from way back, way back.
The men dress in one of 2 fearsome costumes. The first are the peluche, wild beasts in furs, ringing their cowbells. The sheepskins have not been tanned and are quite smelly. The peluche appear intermittently starting on January 6th until the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday.
The peluche can do anything. They are pretty free to do whatever they want to do. It has become a bit more proper than it used to be years ago. They don't allow us to do nasty things to kids or the young girls, otherwise we have problems with the parents. Nevertheless, we try to be in the spirit of Carnival and scare the girls a bit or run behind them and try to catch them.
On se masque, déjà parce qu'il y a le carême juste après.
We put on masks because it's right before Lent, and Carnival is a time to fool around. Originally, when a rich person mistreated a small peasant, during Carnival the peasant can put on a mask and beat up the rich guy, because he can be anonymous. It is sort of a reprisal.
I've seen my dad get dressed up like this. He had a bucket of manure and a cow's tail of a cow they had killed to eat. He used the tail like a sprinkler, dipping it into the bucket and then spraying people with the manure. This was a tradition until 1930. After that, one did not do those things anymore. During that time, the villagers did not walk through the town. They were hiding. It was our tradition that one had to hide in a cemetery or church, One could not go masked into the cemetery or the church. It will bring bad luck.
Because in the old days, in the winter, the young did not have much work to do. No construction work. There was no ski lift, no tourism, and very little skiing. The carnival was a way of passing the time. Yes.
I had the chance to be a Polish at one time and to be on the other side of the fence. This was very interesting. It is true that you do not recognize who's under the disguise. With the mask, the expressions are very impressive and one scares everybody. As a girl, I scared the boys, which was a lot of fun. However, if you're a girl and you're not dressed like the boys, you're afraid of the Polish. They smell bad, generally are wet, which makes it worse and are pretty harsh with us. So you're rather scared of them nonetheless.
The second kind of costume are enormous stuffed straw men called empaillés, who stagger around the village wielding brooms. The empaillés emerge only on one day during the year, the Sunday before Ash Wednesday.
To dress up in Evolène is something fantastic. It's like a virus. You start when you're very young, and it's very difficult to give up. I also had brothers who put on masks before me and transferred the virus to me like that. We always talked at home about how great it is to go out in costume. And then it's a thing you can't let go. I'm now 30 years old, and I continue to put on a mask once or twice every year.
To be an empaillé is a different philosophy because you have to be a bit crazy. You have to be more crazy than a peluche because it is physically much more strenuous and you can't be claustrophobic because the hay is very heavy and in this costume you have a hard time breathing. Therefore, after a little effort, a short run after a girl, you have to rest for 5 minutes to recuperate and to catch your breath. But I think it is the greatest moment of the Carnival in Evolène. You have to be an empaillé once to understand it. It is very hard, but it's fantastic. I believe that a person who is an empaillé once would want to be one all the time.
It takes silliness to amuse people. Oh yeah, it's necessary. It's very necessary. A lot of people have dreams, stupid dreams, but they have them anyway. To forget the world, work, and pain, I think. These are ancient things. It's a human need. Humans need it, I think.
In the 60s, there was a big transformation in the mountain village of Evolène because of the start of the construction of the Grand Dixence Dam. All the males left to work on the construction project and earn money. All the households changed. Before we were poor peasants in the mountains living in self-sufficiency, which means we cultivated our own wheat and everything. But from that moment on, everything changed, also the carnival. Money arrived and one started to buy costumes, masks out of plastic or rubber, made in the big factories. The carnival changed and every mask had his own money in the pocket, and if he didn't find anybody to buy him a beer or a glass of wine, he could buy it himself.
Generally speaking, man has not changed, but the means have changed. Man is always the same before and after, but the means have changed. The Romans knew the wagon with 2 wheels. Now we know the wagon with 4 wheels.
In the long term, I'm a bit worried about the Carnival of Evolène. I mean, for the peluche, there are the young ones, but with the empaillé, I don't know how long it will last, because there are not a lot of young ones who wants to be empaillé. There have been pretty much the same ones over several years. With the change of mentality and all that, it is possible that it will not be the same anymore, even though the young ones are still part of it. We can't do everything like we used to. We have to be more strict with the hours and can't just go out of control crazy.
Splügen is a remote mountain village in eastern Switzerland. The valley was isolated till the opening of the San Bernardino tunnel to Italy in 1967. This might be the reason why older forms of carnival still exist in Splügen. The tradition of blackening people's faces, once a common carnival custom across Switzerland, has survived only in a few places. The black paste the boys make up is made out of butter, salad oil, soot, and a little bit of shoe polish. The carnival in Splügen is organized by young men who have finished school but are not married yet. Around their waists the boys wear pack horse bells, which once were a reminder of the packers returning to the village from transporting goods across the Alps. On this Wednesday, those bells mean danger.
Let's go over the rules quickly. You have to follow a few rules when you blacken the faces of the kids and women you are searching out. The unmarried girls between 16 and 45, you should give a nice job. You should blacken their entire face. You can tickle the ears and, depending on who it is, you can give a swipe through the hair. Also the neck should be nicely black. With the kids you should be careful and don't be too rough. I don't want to see anybody tripping kids from behind, but you can smear the faces pretty good. With the small kids between 6 and 10 you have to be especially careful. If you see one of them crying, you should take off the mask.
He got her. Look, he got her. Benny, you got her. You did well. Wow, she's not letting herself be smeared. So that's it. She did not have a very good hiding place.
For an outsider, it looks very violent what they are doing.
Sure. Yes, it's pretty rough. But it's not that rough. With all the excitement, you don't feel it as being rough. However, for an outsider, I can understand.
Do the women think it is all right that the boys are doing it?
Oh, yes. I would really hope so. We are cultivating this tradition.
For an outsider, it might be difficult to understand the enthusiasm in this tradition. You have to personally take part and grow up in it. From the older people in the village, I learned that as many women and kids as possible need to be blackened, so that winter is chased away and that there will be a good summer. I feel that the older people keep a lookout for the blackened faces. They like to see black people on this day because they know from the tradition that there will be a good summer and that winter is completely chased away.
It has to do with fertility. The people who are blackened will be fertile. That's how I remember it. And that's where this custom comes from. Why the mixture of butter, soot, and everything, I don't know anymore.
The custom requires that the unmarried boys try to catch the unmarried women, and that then we can invite the women to the evening party. To catch somebody and tell her, please come tonight to the party, that is definitely something that all the boys are looking for.
Das hat man schon gesucht, auf alle Fälle. Ja.
Sexuality in the old days was not very easy. The meeting between the sexes was very ritualized. You had to dress up and ask permission of the parents. You could drink a coffee or a tea, and this all under supervision. There wasn't a natural contact between girls and boys. The tradition gave the opportunity to finally follow one's inner impulses. The boys could grab the girls and did not have to look precisely where.
The most exciting part is when you first stay in your hiding place and then start to sneak around in town. Once a group of us were in the upper part of the village, all still unblackened, and we decided to sneak across the bridge in the lower part of the village, where most of the guys usually hang out. We managed to all cross the bridge without getting caught, which made us very proud.
The masked guys fashion their tactics to the reactions of the people they are searching. If you ask a girl in Splügen, they'll tell you that the boys are supposed to be rougher if the girl resists. If the girls let you paint their face, you are going to be gentler. In the past 15 years, there have been quite a few changes. Because when I was hiding as a kid, it was a notch rougher than today. I think the way it is now is a good balance. We get very few complaints and there are no accidents.
I should say that many friendships and even marriages come out of the tradition. The unity is really there. And a lot of people who no longer live here come back on this day to watch the goings-on.
Viel älter sind, 50, 60 oder so, nicht mehr da wohnen, dass die an dem Tag kommen und schauen.
Je mehr Brüche, je mehr Thema.
The more traditions and customs, the better unity we have in the village. If you talk with locals in a restaurant, everybody knows what you are talking about. The oldest and the youngest who just participated this year share their experiences and talk to each other. 75-year-olds meet with 16-year-olds, and if you listen to what the older people are saying, it is very fascinating to learn how the tradition evolved. Although the tradition does change with the times, we don't encourage changing it to the extent that we all of a sudden dress up in metallic costumes to search for kids and girls. I don't think so.
2 minutes outside and that was it.
And you?
I came from skiing. Then I saw Czeki and I knew I had to take off. I started to run and he just got me.
Brauchtum. Traditions mean demarcation. Borders are not here to separate people. Borders separate cultures. Sometimes I need to feel how another culture is different from my own, and I enjoy it a lot more if it is unique, because I can experience something different. Customs from different cultures can serve the same purpose. If we lose them, we will have just anything, a mush across the whole globe. We don't want a mush. I want to have here a very special pastry, and in another place it should smell differently. It should be very, very important to us that our lives only have meaning, and that our home is only then a home if it distinguishes itself in small details from one another. That's what customs are for. In Lucerne they do Carnival in one way, in Basel they do it differently, and our custom in Splügen is something completely different again. However, that's what contributes to diversity and demonstrates the beauty of man in society.
Und wenn das vorbei ist, 5:30, dann wird
When the chase is over around 5:30, it slowly gets dark and then starts the evening part. The 10 boys first wash themselves and change their costume. Dressed as old couples, they go from house to house. The old husband is wearing the same belt with bells like in the afternoon, and the old wife is carrying a basket where she can collect eggs. The aim is to visit as many homes and to collect as many eggs as possible, with the saying, "Give me the egg" or "Give me the girl." It is very rare that you get the daughter, so you always get eggs.
Ja, sagen Sie miteinander.
So, ist gut.
The boys don't take off their masks and the people try to figure out who is under the masks. The boys also speak in high voices to make it more difficult to be recognized. As we make the rounds, we deposit the eggs at the restaurant kitchen. The part of visiting houses lasts till midnight. At midnight, the old couples take off their masks and then the party starts for everybody. The unmarried women are invited and we have eggnog, which was prepared by the cook in the meantime from the collected eggs. We call this eggnog resimeda. We drink resimeda and have egg salad, and the festivities go on every year till the early morning hours.
One tells in Liestal that between 1870 and 1880 the first resinous pine wood brooms were made. You read in the history books that resinous stumps were dug out, split and tied around a pole like they are today. This is the beginning of the history. Why did people do that? They wanted to burn winter and scare away the demons.
The people of Liestal have taken the fire tradition to an extreme. The fire wagons started in the 1930s out of the rebellious antics of a few young boys who put a vat of flaming wood on wheels and ran with it through the crowds watching the annual Carnival parade. Although the boys were roundly denounced, in following years improved versions of the proto-fire wagons snuck into the parade and slowly found acceptance. As the wagons grew in size and popularity, the city politicians declared the fire broom parade to be a manifestation of local self-confidence. In 1979 there was an accident when a wheel fell off one of the wagons. Since then, the fire department has carefully inspected all the wagons.
First we look that the wagons are not loaded too high. Second, that the load does not protrude too far. It can't go further than the wheels. The maximum is 2 feet. And third, that all the wood is tightly packed in there. This is actually a bad example, because the wood vibrates out and can fall in front of the wheels, which is bad. That's why we check that all is nice and tight, that this does not occur.
Around 5 o'clock in the evening, the fire wagons and their teams gather at the top of a hill outside the old town. Final preparations are made before the wagons are ignited.
In regard to lighting the wagons, if you imagine that we have about 8 cubic meters of wood on the wagon. The wood is ignited by matches, zip cubes and paper, and within 10 to 15 minutes the whole wagon is in full flames. At that moment, the beauty of this ghostly fire spectacle can begin. It is quite fascinating when you have the feeling that the entire town is on fire. If you have never seen or experienced this feeling of pulling such a great fire through Liestal, you can hardly imagine it. But the desire to make even bigger fires is in every human. In the 90s, we started to develop a safety plan together with the fire department. The fire department has water hoses under pressure along the route. Due to the danger that the house could catch on fire because the flow of embers is very big, we developed a security plan. I'm very happy we have this plan because any incident is practically eliminated. There are always people, also in Liestal, who want to get rid of traditions and keep them within bounds. However, we have people who resist to get rid of traditions. I think we are able to preserve our tradition against people who think differently and who represent certain minorities. Their arguments are that if you want to have clean houses in the old town, you cannot drive with fire, smoke and soot along the beautiful buildings. The situation is that this is a tradition, and the tradition takes precedence over the dirty facades and the dangers. I am hoping that the homeowners and the city council have the insight that the Pine Broom Parade has its meaning for Liestal. I could not imagine that one would ever want to get rid of the Pine Broom Parade.
Lucerne is a German-speaking city in the center of Switzerland. It is famous for its street carnival, especially the Guckenmusik, elaborately masked and costumed marching bands. The Wikinger or Vikings are one such Guckenmusik group. This year the Wikinger have decided to dress up as internet drones. Their creative costumes include a mask with electrified open brains and motorcycle jackets to which various computer switches, wires and circuit boards are attached. Although there's a central theme to the costumes the Wikinger assemble every year, this group prides itself on the freedom each member has in designing his or her own costume.
Come here, Selena. Look, the keys come right off the keyboard. Yeah, this works. Maybe we can use them as buttons in front. Like that. And maybe one over here. Something like that. We've also got these cables. Computer cables which were inside the computer. I sewed them to the bottom of the pants. Look, 60s pants. We drilled holes through the computer card. That was pretty hard. Then we used rivets to attach them to the leather. And here I made plastic pockets to cover the sharp edges. I think it's a bit dangerous if it's all exposed. And here are the padded grooves, and here are the reflective strips. There have been nights where we stayed up sewing until 4 a.m. and straight to Carnival. And we always say that next year we're going to start a lot earlier and we're not going to have this craziness, don't we? But every year it's the same.
It is just before 5 in the morning and Carnival is about to begin. All the revelers of the entire city are hushed in anticipation of the Big Bang. The oldest carnival characters, which date back to the 15th century, are coming to shore to greet the Carnival Guild Father and to start the festivities. Today the Guckenmusik are the dominant feature of the Lucerne Carnival. The Guckenmusik scene started in Lucerne in the 1950s as a movement by artists and designers to bring new vitality to the street carnival, which was almost non-existent at the time. Before the 1950s, carnival was controlled by merchant guilds, which organized parades and held fancy dress balls. The proliferation of the Guckenmusik bands, even though they have greatly revitalized carnival in Lucerne, has not been without problems. People started to complain that it was impossible to meet with friends because of overcrowding with Guckenmusik. One of the attractions of dressing up in costume has always been the intrigue of interacting anonymously with all kinds of friends and acquaintances, and playing tricks on people not wearing masks. But the noise and constant parading made these kinds of encounters more difficult. In an effort to overcome these problems and to encourage more interaction among local people, some groups are exploring new ways to participate in carnival. Some have exchanged the marching band instruments for wagons they pull through town. These wagons can serve as portable meeting places. They typically also underscore a group's theme, often medieval, occult, or futuristic.
I think the mysticism of the Middle Ages is very beautiful and belongs in the Lucerne Carnival. Carnival needs the mysticism and the dark because things have not always been pretty. At Carnival we have the chance to show these things, and it can be a lot of fun to do something like that. It also has to do with the issue of scaring away winter. You scare away winter with the dark forces, with malicious powers. This is the origin of Carnival. Some of the older masks of Switzerland are scary witches and ghosts. A lot of people enjoy creating something evil and feel comfortable doing it. It is something you cannot ordinarily do.
The wagon groups organize meetings in the town squares to get together. The wagons are well stocked with refreshments to supply the costumed characters and share with fellow carnival goers and friends. In an effort to encourage more interaction during carnival, the wagon groups would like to limit participation by Guckenmusik groups to those from Lucerne. This would also reduce congestion in the small streets of the old town. The Wikinger are part of this new movement of encouraging more interaction, even though they still march with instruments. They have come up with new ideas within the Guckenmusik tradition. Instead of playing cacophonous marching band tunes, they have adopted Brazilian samba rhythms for their marches through town. Many of the members of the Wikinger are the children of some of the original founders of the Guckenmusik groups in Lucerne. They see themselves as innovators and rebels who have changed the Guckenmusik scene over the years. They pride themselves on valuing creativity, spontaneity, and freedom of expression above all.
There are all kinds of people in our group. Salespeople, teachers, jazz students, electricians, and everybody has the desire to make good music, good street music. Anyone who can contribute something musically, or is a little bit crazy, is welcome in our group. These people, most of these people together create this momentum. This is what is special. It's got to be magical. You have to feel the magic. And if we no longer feel this magic, I think we will all stop going.
Yeah, I think that's it.
This magic is created by the fact that we all can, should, and are allowed to surprise each other. It already starts with the costume. We approximately know the theme and everybody has to make their own costume. On the first day of Carnival, we are all surprised about everybody's costume, because we don't know what everybody is doing. We surprise each other already there. In other groups, everybody has the same costume and you better not show up in anything else. Once at a general meeting, we gave out the order to go with the Bavarian look. Only one person, we told, the theme was Africa. And we really managed to keep it secret. It was so hilarious. The poor guy really came as an African, and we were all Bavarians. I mean, this event already, something like that, this is the mentality. That's how things happen in our group. This is the funny part. This is the magic. It extends all the way into the music, and we allow ourselves to be open to the unexpected and doing things in new ways.
At different points the Wikingers stop, remove their masks and perform mini dance concerts. A few years ago they started to play dance tunes from all over the world, which they adopt to their own carnival style.
We like our music to flow. We want people to stop and join us and dance. Over the years, our members have established a kind of groove. This is what is special about our group. We used to have just the drums and horns like the other Guggenmusik groups, but over time we added singers, bass and electric guitar, and our whole style of music changed, from the marching band tunes to hip music from around the world. We play jungle, we play house. Nobody plays these kinds of music at Carnival. We're the only ones. If you compare us with other Carnival groups, a lot of groups have similar instrumental configurations. Those wood blocks out of hard plastic appeared, and those colossal drum sets on wheels became popular. So now all the groups have them, and you notice that a lot of groups sound similar. We are not using those huge setups. I'm sorry, but you couldn't send me down the City Hall steps with one of those rigs. There should be government safety regulations for those things. They are life-threatening if you think about it. I take my hat off for people who dare do it. Not for me.
Cars in the old section of town during Carnival are always a big nuisance. One of the original members of the Wikinger always had the urge to hit one of those cars. In memory of that member who died last year, the group came up with a commemorative piece.
The Swiss are rather reserved. Everybody keeps to themselves. During the year, everybody sits at separate tables in the cafes. But during Carnival, you start conversations with anybody about anything in the cafe or even in the restroom. That's one thing I really like. I wish it could be like that all year round. Somehow, it always gives you this drive for those 3 days. Now I almost work 3/4 of the year for these 3 days, and they pass so quickly. But now that the carnival is over, I'm already thinking about what to do for next year.